record, I think. Okay, perfect. Great, it's recording. Amazing. Okay. So the first question I had for you was, what were the first hip hop, neo soul, and or R&B songs that you really loved?
That's a tough one. There's so many. Um, Neo Soul, maybe like there's a song by Bilal called Soul Sister. That's
Mhm.
like there's just a few songs like sometimes that as soon as I hear it, like it just something clicks for me. That was one of them. Ascension by Maxwell, The Sweetest Thing by Lauryn Hill, NDRE, so Brown Skin and um Get It Together, like from Shark Tales. um There's this one song by Angie Stone called Wish I Didn't Miss You. That one kind of just like clicked right away from me too. Brown Sugar by D'Angelo, Be Here by Raphael Sadiq and D'Angelo. Um, I'm rambling. Okay, hip hop. Let's see. Hip hop is like a tricky one because I got like more immersed into hip hop when I was kind of like just going into high school. So like that, and now like I think for me that was like 2011 to 2015 was I was really like heavy into what was going on and just currently at the time. So I was listening to a lot of like ASAP Mob and Pro Era and like Top Dog, like Kendrick and J Rock and Schoolboy Q, J Cole, like that Cole World, Silent Story era, Nipsey when Crenshaw came out especially. Um, I think one of those songs is like maybe like Survival Tactics by Joey Badass and Captain Steez. Um, Persian Wine by ASAP Ferg. I remember it was like one of the first songs I heard by him. And it still is my streaming thing. Like, I remember like finding it on SoundCloud or something and that's like clicked right away for me. And then on like Odd Future, like Tyler, Osef shirt. Um and it was around the same time that I kind of started like going backwards and like listening to hip hop before that time. So like Mos Def and um, like Miss Fabry was one of my favorite songs. Or like Mathematics, um, or Find a Way by Tribe Called Quest was one of the first jazz rap songs I ever heard, and I found that International Players Anthem by Outkast, um, Biggie, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, that whole era. There's a lot. There's a lot. R&B, um, Me, Myself, and I by Beyonce. Um, The Softest Place on Earth by Escape. Uh, Neo, I was obsessed. So sick, so sick, just like hooked me right away. Um, Missy Elliott, but she did like huge things for the R&B and hip hop um, genres. But The Dream, Alicia Keys, Tony Braxton, 112, Genuine, So Anxious was like, as soon as I heard it, I couldn't stop listening to it. Aaliyah, I don't know if Sade counts. She's more like soul maybe, but um, Cherish the Day and The Sweetest Taboo and Is It a Crime and every Sade song.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, there's so many songs.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love there was a lot of range in that. I love it, especially I was not expecting shark tales, but yes. Yes.
Everywhere, it's everywhere. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, I there's a lot of moments where I like fallen in love with music, so it's hard to.
Mhm. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you. So, when did you start creating or recording music?
Um, I started writing songs like there's random verses or just like things I would sing like whenever, like when I was maybe 11 or 12. Um, we used to have in elementary school, we used to have like paper over our desks. I think like one of the years or two of the years. Like our desk was completely covered in paper, so we just like drew on it, like have things on it, like just customize our desk basically. And I would just write song lyrics on it in the corners. Um, and then I got it was like a Pro Tools starter pack from like Best Buy when I was like 14. I like saved up and like got it. Um, and that was the first time I tried recording myself. And so I started, I think I put my first thing out on SoundCloud like when I was 15, maybe.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, it's been kind of like just, yeah, around for a while.
Yeah, that's incredible. Once you started talking about like school, I honestly expected you to start like mention the recorder or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
like
Yeah, yeah.
oh, I mean, everybody played that.
Exactly, exactly. I feel like that was the start of a lot of musicians' journeys, recorders in elementary school. Yeah.
Corners, triangles,
Exactly.
so many like little, the kazoo. Oh my God, do you remember the kazoo?
The kazoo, yes. Yes. I had a little visit back to, I guess, nostalgia lane with the kazoo, and like halfway through college, I just decided I want a kazoo again. And so ordered one off of Amazon, and that there was that moment for a little bit.
I'm so excited. I love that they still exist. Let's go.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
That
Yeah.
makes me so happy. Oh my God.
I'm just imagining like in a few years a kazoo like makes it to one of your tracks at some point.
I have to find a way to do that.
Uh, incredible. Okay. And how would you describe your music in 3 words? Basically, I wanted to know more about what makes Tris Tris.
Yeah. Warm. I think there's like a warmth to my sound. Um, vulnerability. Um, and I guess like kind of like just being honest about the gray areas. Like I feel like there's a lot of like nuance and more complex emotions.
Mhm.
Um, and I tend to kind of I don't know, I like to write about those. Um,
Yeah,
and I guess like smooth. I would hope.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah,
Right?
I love that. I love those 3 words. Those are great words. Definitely, definitely comes across through your music to your listeners, 100%. Yeah. I guess related to that, when creating your music, what's important to you in the process and in the music itself?
Um, I don't really have any like I don't know if there's anything that I intend on being in my music or like anything I expect my music to be besides like I would hope that it's real. Um, but as far as making music, I think just being in a good environment, like a safe, open, like comfortable environment, um, and like having that good energy. Um, I hate being in a rush. I hate it so much. So if like I know I have all day and I can just like whatever happens happens, that's like the most ideal situation that I can create. Um, like letting go, not thinking too much, being as present as I can. Um, and I like for everyone involved to like have a sense of curiosity or like an open mind to kind of just doing whatever like wherever that day and our emotions and the mood and everything wherever it takes us, like just being open to it. Um, and we
Yeah. Always helps. Mhm. Yeah, I'm curious actually, are there like any, I don't know, were there any times that you can think of where you didn't really plan your music to go one way, but you kind of let yourself go with what was happening that day and it surprised you in a good way?
yeah, yeah. I think because there's times where maybe I'm like really hooked on a certain song. Like I tend to do this thing where like if I hear a song I really like, I just like play it over and over and over. And then like till I'm sick of it and then I like, I'll circle back. But sometimes it's just like one song I'm really listening to. And so sometimes I'll come into the studio with that song in mind and oh, I want to make something like this, or like, I keep a playlist of songs I want to kind of pull inspiration from. Or like if I like the production or if I like something about the song, like I have a playlist for that. And so I might go into a session like expecting to make or wanting to make something along those lines. Um, and then it just goes in a completely different direction. But sometimes it goes that way and you don't really it's like sometimes I'll blink and then we have a finished song and I'm like I just didn't really like I don't know, it's the best we don't think too much about it.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Did that ever happen like in the process of making Falling?
yeah, actually Fallen was really unique because it was the first time I was meeting Five God, the producer. First time being at the studio, like it was our 100% first impression. Um, and it was the first time I'd walked into a session with a stranger and left with a finished song. Um, yeah, so it's like even though it's happened since, I still feel like it's really special. You can like creatively just connect with someone like instantly. Um, so I had no idea what I was getting like myself into. I didn't know it was gonna go, and yeah, we just like we met somewhere in the middle. Like we kind of just like were on the same page, and it went really well.
Yeah, that involves so much trust in the process. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it's pretty rare and it's pretty special when you can like
Mm.
just trust someone creatively like that quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really special for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what inspired you to create Falling, whether musically, stylistically, lyrically, or maybe even personally?
Yeah. I feel like usually when I'm writing, I try not to let I'm very like a go into everything with no expectations type of person. Um, so I try not to set any expectations for what I'm gonna write about or like how the song is gonna be, and I kind of just let the pen guide me and like let my subconscious speak for me. Um, so I guess what I was maybe it was just like what was weighing on me at the time, like and I didn't really know it yet, but like something was weighing on my spirit and I was like, wow, I keep falling into this pattern of like falling in love with people and like using it as a distraction and like, using it to kind of yeah, distract me from turning that attention to myself and like what I needed to work on. Um, so I think yeah, it might have been one of those days where yeah, I guess I was realizing it and I was maybe ready to speak on it without really realizing it. Um, yeah, as far as like musically and stylistically, I feel like it was pretty intuitive too. Five God just pretty much the whole time he was just doing what felt good, and what sounded good, and I kind of just let the production take the lead and just got in where I felt like fit in. But yeah, I think it was a really like seamless process.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Also, as you're talking, I just love, I don't know, your energy is very much so exactly what you like describe your music to be. It's so nice to like, it's just very soothing. It's a very soothing energy.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Of course. I love this. I'm so happy to like be talking to you after like hearing all your music.
You're so cool.
You
Like
too. Right back at you. Yeah, that's so nice to hear you like kind of explain like how this like song became. And, like what was I'm curious as to what the experience of recording Falling was like. Maybe especially given that it was with strangers and just kind of came to be.
yeah, it was good. It was really good. There's no booth, so we like five made just like the beat, and I recorded the song like all having in one little room. Um, so it was really cool. It just felt like I was like just hanging out, but then also just like singing into the mic. And it was really nice, and like it was just a really inviting energy, and I'm friends with another person that works at the same studio. His name is Kyle Bowen. He runs a podcast called Post It Up. You should check it out. Oh, it's good. But he and I have been friends for like 4 years. So I already kind of knew it was gonna be a really like cool, welcoming like energy in the studio. But yeah, it was so easy. It was great.
Mhm. Yeah, amazing. I love that. And maybe we can, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to first talk about the experience before we move on to like the next question, more about technicalities of the like song making part. Yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Mhm. I don't think so. Yeah, it was like really just the most like I just can't believe how easy it was. It was so easy. It was so like it felt like it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's been a year now. I think it was October of last year.
Uh-huh.
It was cool, you know. I left with a song and a friend.
Hmm.
So yeah, it was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it really sounds like everything kind of just came together. It sounds incredible. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like sometimes there's like I'm assuming that for you a lot of times there's like a lot of planning in your artistic process and a lot of like visions and like working on that and everything. But once in a while there's just that one little creative like thing that like bursts through and you kind of just have to take it in when it happens, honestly.
Yeah, yeah. And just yeah, keeping an open mind to absolutely everything that could possibly happen because some things are or most surprises are really good.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay, so this is my a small little interpretation that I had of the song. And I loved it because as we entered the song, it felt like the sample in the beginning really made me feel like I was underwater and like slowly moving downwards, slowly falling. And you begin singing, and we're also introduced to this piano part that feels like it's kind of like a separate realm. And it kind of feels like the bliss that you feel when you're in love that's inevitably there, present as, and then you start to recognize like the ways that you're holding yourself back from healing. And you begin to like come into that recognition. I thought it was interesting that the piano kind of disappears in verse two and like comes back and all of that. And so I honestly loved listening to your song and then reading the lyrics and getting more of the like idea of like how everything came together. And it really feels like everything that you like did in the music, even if the song like came together kind of just like blissfully, it kind of you can tell like there's so much intention in like all of your musical choices. And so I was wondering if you want to tell us a bit about the thinking behind the arrangement and the different layers and I guess more of the technicalities of the song making.
Yeah. First of all, see attentive. This is what I mean. Like you actually just dissected the whole thing. I love it so much. Well,
It was so much fun for me.
I love that you notice like all the intricacies and like you actually like yeah, I really appreciate that. Um,
Oh, thank you.
yeah, I'm like the second best person to ask this. I feel like Five is obviously like he's responsible for a lot of the arrangement choices. Like um I think maybe I suggested to like have it be just drums and bass at that second half of the second verse. But besides that, like it's obviously like he took the lead and was super was also just a very intuitive person. Like just does what he thinks will sound good. He just like is very experimental and will just try different things. Um but yeah, it was kind of just him experimenting and he kind of incorporated the piano, I guess, as a way to drive the song forward. And for me, without even really I didn't realize it till after that I kind of start talking about that skin to skin, that like it's soul to soul love, that really blissful like feeling of being in that honeymoon phase. And um like right as the piano comes in, it's kind of like great timing. Um Yeah, and I feel like once the second verse comes in, it's a bit more like it starts with just a sample and goes to drums and bass. It gives you that contrast, and as soon as the drum and bass come in, it's a bit more like direct and blunt. So that kind of works well with the production there. And drive the story forward a little bit. It's kind of like there's a bit more awareness because before you're like still kind of wrapped up in how, how fun ignorance is and like how like, ignorance is bliss, right? So I think once the second verse comes in and the instrumentation changes and gets a bit more like gritty and blunt, so to through the lyrics and through the realization. Um, and something like love isn't being romanticized in the same way. So, yeah.
Yeah, incredible. And did your experience writing and recording Falling differ from like Respectfully or any of the other songs that you've recorded so far?
I think it's unique because it was the first song we ever made together. But the process of the other songs in the EP were pretty similar because once we made Falling, we kind of like scheduled weekly sessions and went in with like, okay, we're gonna make a full song today. We did that for like maybe 2 months straight. Um, and we didn't always leave the full song. Sometimes it'd just be a demo or like just a verse or just a chorus. But most days we came out with full songs. And I think it was like in no particular order. It was like Fallen, it might have been Respectfully next, and then Leave It Alone, which is the third track. Um, and then Raise the fourth, the interlude, and then Deuce, the fifth. It was kind of like almost in chronological order. Um, so it was very similar in process because we're still getting to know each other on a personal level, but like we're kind of just like hammering out songs creatively, like just working really well together. Um, and just like going in for a few hours and like maybe spending the whole day there, but reading the song every time.
Mhm. I love that we just got a little preview for the sad readers of what's coming up next. A little special preview. Yeah. Okay. And I was wondering, so I guess Falling was recorded actually before Respectfully, but in the EP, it's going to be Respectfully and then Falling, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does Falling kind of drive the story of Respectfully further, or how do they kind of interact with each other?
Yeah. I feel like respectfully is kind of the first impression. Um, and just like when you're meeting someone, you don't really get to know them from one encounter. And like um, it takes a few more times meeting or talking to or engaging with that person to really get to know who they are and like what's beneath the surface. I feel like respectfully is a bit more, there's like that bravado and like that kind of like shamelessness um and confidence and like that, like the walls are still kind of up a little bit.
Mhm.
And Fawn is a bit more vulnerable. It's being a bit more, it's risking a bit more. Um, so I feel like it's kind of the story's progressing because you're getting to know um, me or at least the story a bit better.
Mhm. Yeah, wow. I was really curious about this answer specifically, and I love your answer, honestly. I guess I was expecting more of a like your personal journey kind of answer, but I love that it's more so that we're getting to know you, and this is kind of, the journey of getting to know you through the EP.
Yeah, I feel like the EP kind of depicts a cycle
Mhm.
uh, that like I've definitely gone through more than once.
Mhm.
I do that.
We all have.
Yeah. So I feel like it's obviously it's not the whole picture, but it's a good idea of what that cycle can look like.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And Falling is all about kind of, I guess, taking like a step back and trying to start breaking those cycles. I'm curious, since writing Falling, have you been taking the time to heal yourself to fight the demons, as the lyrics say, and or if you in general have any thoughts about self-healing, any advice or messages for listeners?
Yeah. I haven't spent as much, I guess like since I wrote it, which it's been a year. in a couple months. I haven't taken as much time to like actively heal as I wish I did, as I would have liked to, but um, I guess I haven't made it a priority in the past, but I think it's definitely something I learned this year is that those moments of stillness and like taking that time, even if it might feel like you're being stagnant because you're not being productive or like working on the next thing and you're just sometimes working on yourself almost seems like a waste of time or like you're kind of pausing your life. But um, I'm learning to like accept that it's necessary. And yeah, like understanding that it's not linear and it's not going to be like, oh, you go from A and you get to B and C. Like sometimes you're at J and then you end up back at B, you know, like it happens. And uh,
Mhm.
you're picking up tools along the way. So you're only going to be more equipped, even if you feel like you're going backwards. Um, I guess like as far as what I would tell people, or just like what I would like to remind people is um, it's something I learned this year too, is to kind of just let yourself feel. Like just let whatever kind of I know at least for me, like as like the lows can be really low. Um, and I have a hard time accepting it. And I kind of like I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but at least for me, I know that I've felt like I had a duty to kind of like pull myself out of it and like be better. And like I have to like take these active steps to be better, but sometimes you can't force or rush whatever you're going through. Like sometimes you just have to feel it, even if it feels like shit. And yeah, like you're sometimes you don't have to like sometimes saving yourself and pulling yourself out of it is actually just going through it and coming out the other side. But yeah, it's an ongoing process. It literally never ends, and I'm learning that there's no finish line ever. It's
Yeah.
all just a part of life. It's part of the process. But yeah, just have to be more patient.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I only ask, or I guess I'm asking because like so much of the song and the things that you were exploring through the song really resonated with me. And I think especially during the pandemic, a lot of people have kind of, looked more within and have had to, confront a lot of things. And so yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with everything that you said. Like being patient with yourself is such an important lesson to learn. And it's honestly so much harder sometimes to be patient with yourself than it is with others. And
Mm-hmm.
you kind of just have to take it slow because self-healing process, once it's rushed, it's not, it hurts like throughout the process and there's definitely turmoil. But I think that it's a process that you kind of just have to almost like marinate it and let it like happen as it's supposed to happen with the time that that it definitely requires. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Exactly.
a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah, like, it's your body telling you something. You have to listen otherwise, because trying to force it and like make yourself be okay to kind of like continue on with life is only going to hurt you in the long run. So I feel like even though it feels like you're stagnant, when you do take that time to like actually do the shadow work and like actually work on yourself and like conquer those demons and face that trauma and whatever it may be, like that's only going to give you more longevity. So it's best to just let it happen, let yourself feel, like let yourself not be okay,
Mhm.
let, uh, let nature take its course, you know.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I know that we're talking as we like I guess New Year's is right around the corner. And I was actually watching this TikTok that was talking about like New Year's goals and how a lot of people are like, trying to work on themselves and like change themselves for the new year. But she was suggesting an alternative journal prompt of like, how have I grown in the past year and how do I know, like, how do I see that growth? And I honestly just love that prompt so much more because it allows you the space to kind of acknowledge the like work that you've done on yourself and that the ways that you've grown and kind of to figure out how I think the question of like how do I see that growth allows you to I guess continue those things.
Mm.
So yeah, I love that. Yeah.
I saw this tweet. This guy kept like a jar where anytime he had a victory, like I'm not sure what kind of victories, like what he was kind of what the metric for that was, but he had a jar where he would write down his victories and put it in the jar. He did that all year, and now like he's gonna open it on the first and like get to like see all the times he felt like he had a victory. So I'm thinking I do that next year.
Oh my gosh, that is so lovely. I love that. Yeah.
Right? I try to do that. I try to like what am I proud of myself for? And like what did I accomplish? And like what did I feel good about this year? But like how did I grow? But my memory just is I don't know. Like I just can't think of it
Yeah.
sometimes. So I feel like it's cool to like have a physical like
Mhm.
memory of it of that time that you felt like you accomplished something.
Yeah, that's a great idea, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, this would actually be a great pitch for like to like get a group of people to just write down all the things that they were proud of and at the end of the year to like have a little article of all the things. I also just
Oh,
seeing people be proud of themselves makes me so happy. So I feel like that would be such an endearing article.
good idea. You should do it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you do it in the tweet so you can like,
Perfect. Thank you. Incredible. Yeah. And I think because I think what you were talking about being patient with yourself, allowing yourself to feel all those feelings rather than resisting them or rushing through them. I think that comes through the song, which is why I had a question that was like, have you been vulnerable with yourself and like embracing and holding your own self that has been revealed to you?
um, I'm trying to be more compassionate with myself. My ultimate goal is to like not attach any shame to like any part of who I am or how I operate or how I process things or like because it seems like there's like a right way to do things all the time, and anytime you deviate from like what most people would do, it kind of feels a bit disheartening, and like you tend to kind of think you're weird instead of just different. So I feel like I'm trying to um, when those parts of myself are revealed to me, when I'm kind of rediscovering something about myself or trying to suppress something about myself, I kind of I try to just kind of be more compassionate and be more like extend the same grace I would extend to someone I love. Um, I think it was like a TikTok I saw that was like, or maybe a meme, I don't even know, but it was like, don't kill the parts you cringe at, kill the part that cringes. I said, wow, I need to implement this in my life because it's just, yeah, that's
Mhm.
the way to embrace yourself. It's just like feel no shame. Like it's just you are who you are. Like there's nothing you can do about that. So you might as well enjoy it.
Yeah. I was actually just watching this episode last night of this character who was giving some motivational speech, and he was just like, yeah, everyone always loves it when you just flip things around. It's true though. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's always every time you do, it's always like so profound and wow. But it also just sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah. You just take a second and you step back, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I'm curious if okay, let me kind of see what I want to ask next. Yeah, I guess okay. So I love this line skin to skin, that's soul to soul love. I think that's the top line. Yeah, and I'm sure it's bound to become a fan favorite. Um, and that really, I think that description really holds like, I don't know, the intimacies of love that makes it so like exhilarating, but also so hard to let go. Um, and it truly does feel like, a breakup truly feels like mourning, honestly. And I've recently been thinking about how like breakups aren't just, I think they're so devastating because you're not only like mourning someone who was important to your life leaving your life, but also that you're mourning like a part of yourself that was deeply connected to who you were with them and in that relationship. So I'm wondering if you have any thoughts for listeners about like coming into versions of yourself after these relationships, or like even welcoming back and rediscovering parts of yourself that you had mourned.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's you kind of there's this whole identity shaped around who you are with this person, especially if it's something long term, like you become a unit and it's hard to kind of separate yourself from that and like not yeah, you're more than the person you used to be. And it's like it's hard to navigate that because it's like this constant game of like losing yourself and finding yourself, but you can't even really find the person you were before them because that person doesn't exist anymore. Like you're a whole new person. So you have to just completely just get to know yourself all over again, it feels like.
Mhm.
So it's challenging, like, getting to know yourself. Um, but I think it's a really beautiful process. Like, you like spending quality time with yourself, like actually hanging out with yourself, taking yourself out, like just doing things that you would do with someone else. Um, and like just paying attention to yourself, like how you react to situations, like observing yourself, what you like, what you don't like, what you value, what's important to you. Um, like journaling, just keeping up with yourself. Um, obviously, like for the most part, we have like a core sense of who we are, but um, it can get lost sometimes. So whenever I'm lost, like that's what I try to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's kind of what I wanted to talk about, like this, like that, like we are still who we are. It might feel like we're losing that part of ourselves, but those feelings that we had or what brought about those feelings are still like very true to ourselves and are like very unique to ourselves. I think that that's something that you can always kind of make your way back to if,
Mhm.
you know, yeah.
We all have like a core, like we're the same person doing everything. It's just some like elements might change, but there's always like a you to go back to, you know.
Yeah, that's so comforting.
You
Yeah.
never thought of it that way till you ask that. Um, but yeah, that actually makes me feel a lot better. Right, like completely getting to know this new stranger that like you like whose body you live in. Like that's just
Mhm.
a little bit more daunting. But yeah, there's always someone to go. Like there's a home within like who you really are, like in your core.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. You could always count on yourself.
Yeah, like you'll always have your own back.
Mhm. Yeah. I love that. So we're making so much, progress here. We're having a little
That's true.
breakthrough. Perfect. Yeah. And maybe this is connected. Maybe this is your answer to this next question, but what do you want listeners to take away from Falling or even the Respectfully EP?
Um, I didn't really have any like when I'm making a song, um, or like putting together a body of work, I don't necessarily like my first instinct isn't always like how it's going to be received. It's kind of just like the act of making it and doing what feels right. And so once I took a chance, like I got a chance to kind of step back and look at it for like it's the whole that it you know the entirety of it. Um, I don't know. I guess I I hope that it's received as something that's like real and honest and hopefully relatable and kind of if anything at least just like letting people in on like some of the thought processes I go through and what I might be experiencing.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. And I think that especially, I don't know, just the way that I approach music, I definitely feel a lot of like comfort through musicians who kind of share their experiences through their songwriting, or I don't know, just like the emotions that they evoke. And so I'm sure that I'm positive that a lot of people who have like felt the things that you're feeling are definitely getting that through your song for sure. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. And what can we expect for the rest of the EP? I know we had a little preview there of maybe the tracks that are coming up, but I don't know if you want to share anything about what's coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's I actually like that you said that Fallen feels like confronting those issues because I almost felt like that happens a bit later in the EP. I feel like Fallen is important in the story because it's the awareness, like the first time realizing like what the pattern is.
Mhm.
Um, it kind of progresses a bit further into like a look into what the pattern looks and feels like that pattern of falling in love and being stuck and like just um being kind of within that state of being in love and like not being able to say goodbye and let go because it's like you said like that that really like powerful feeling of love that like it's just hard to let go of.
Mhm.
And then it kind of progresses further to um the interlude is a bit more about wanting to break that cycle and kind of like just having a heart to heart with yourself. Um, and the last song is kind of like I feel like it closes it well because it has that a similar energy. It has the same bravado as respectfully, and it kind of closes out with this like it ends on a better note, like a higher note.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I feel like it kind of is a full circle type of EP.
Yeah, I love that. I love that it ends on a more like respectfully kind of note because I honestly just love like the community like that you have really shines through and respectfully. And I think it's important to emphasize that because as much as like we like a lot of the work that we do, like sure we have to do it like with ourselves, but I think it's important to remember that that work is also, with the support of everyone around us and that that's really special like having those networks.
Yeah, like and if you don't have to do it alone, don't. Like there's if you're loved, like accept that love and receive it. Um, yeah, it's a huge blessing for sure.
Yeah, amazing. I'm so excited for the rest of the EP.
I'm really excited for everyone to hear it. Yeah, I hope it's felt like I hope it feels like a story that kind of circles back, and I hope it emulates that feeling of a cycle.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I hope I'm excited. I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely should be. And this is connected, I guess, the next question, which is what are you most proud of and what are you looking forward to? Because I think you have so much to be proud of right now.
Thank you so much. I mean, do you mean like as far as this EP goes, or just in general?
Or just in general, I guess, with I don't know if you're already thinking about things even beyond respectfully, or if there are things going on in your life outside of respectfully, just anything that you might want to share that you're proud of.
Yeah, honestly, this might be kind of the most cliche answer in this context, but like I'm really proud of respectfully. I'm really proud of like the um it was a lot of firsts for me, like that release. Um I'm really like proud of the music video. I'm proud of doing a release party for the first time and really kind of taking on all the roles that like being my own team in a lot of ways and kind of like um just kind of networking and collaborating on a different level than I ever had before, and just like really working with people that were super talented and like believed in the vision too, and they just were down to make it happen with me. I'm really really proud of how that release went. I'm proud of all the releases really. Like it's cool to be able to put music out. And it's cool that people have been listening to it. Um, I am thinking beyond respectfully. I do have a plan for like early summer that I'm kind of excited about. But I'll say that for later.
Incredible. Yeah. And not a cliche answer at all. I think there's so much to be proud of with this EP and it shouldn't be like minimized in any way. Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, would you like to talk about your experience recording the music video as well?
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was very new to me, and I've never had to coordinate that many people before. It was really cool. It was cool to be able to incorporate so many of my friends and like have it be as authentic as the songs like lyrical content was. Like the cast and the crew like reflected what the whole song was about. And it was just really fucking cool. Like how my friends seen the music video with me and like they had never like a lot of them haven't really been in front of the camera like that. And they're just like doing it for the first time. They killed it and like
Could
everyone was
not
all
tell.
sorry.
Yeah, you can't tell. Like, could not tell that they'd never been in front of camera.
Yeah, naturalistic. Yeah, like it's was an amazing experience, and I'm really really lucky. Like I've gone to work with some really cool people, and yeah, I'm just it's it's all a blessing. I'm really happy. I'm really excited.
Good. That's so good to hear. Yeah. Amazing. I loved the Respectfully music video, especially. It looked like so much fun.
It really was. Which yeah, yeah, it was a great time.
Incredible. And my last question is something that I love asking people in general. And so, what is bringing you joy these days?
My bed. Ever since it started snowing, my bed. But uh oh, it's a great question. Um, my family, my friends, for sure. Um, solitude, like I'm learning to like it a bit more. Um, I feel like as soon as I get comfortable with it, something pulls me out of it and I have to start over. Um, so I think like after being out for so long, finally getting to like slow down a little bit, like just being sick, and then now like oh my, I'm very getting it's all like Um, but I think I've had to slow down again, and like I'm still just trying to like I'm navigating it all over again, like getting more comfortable with like solitude and enjoying it a bit more. Um, it's a great question. It's giving me joy. Going for walks. I love going for walks so much.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. It's been hard now that it's so cold, at least for me, but I still try. I put on three pairs of socks and I go for a walk. Um, yeah, just I guess my answer is my bed, family and friends, going for walks, hanging out with myself, reading, um, like painting always brings me joy. I'm teaching myself the piano right now. Not very well. I'm not a good teacher because I don't really know what I'm doing. But I used to when I was a kid and I'm just getting back into it again. But that's bringing me joy too. I try to start my day with a scale. So it's been fun. But
Amazing.
yeah, yeah, I guess that's my answer.
Those are great answers.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love for us to, not have to be forced into solitude, but I think that there are some lessons that where, there's a little bit of a blessing in disguise to be able to like spend some time with yourself and to learn how to really appreciate the small things. I think like walks, honestly, one of the only things that got me through the pandemic so far. Like walks are so rejuvenating. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Especially being at home all day, it's kind of getting that like total long of air is so crucial. Like it's really nice.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. All right. So I guess another takeaway is just go on some walks, everyone.
Fresh air, like stretch your legs. It's
Yeah.
important. Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't wait for the summer walk. We're about to hit.
Oh, yes. Yes. I personally do like snow, so I'm okay with it, but I do miss the summer and like summer clothes and just everyone's just so much happier and the days are so much longer. You can stay out until 10 and it's still light out.
Yeah.
You know.
I love
Mhm.
it so much. I love the snow, but I only visually and aesthetically. Like I don't want to be out there. I just get so cold, but
Yeah,
so beautiful.
that's totally fair. Yeah. All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to add that maybe we haven't covered yet?
What's been bringing you joy these days?
Ooh, definitely walks as well. Um, I feel like related to the walks, I mean, whenever I'm going on walks, I start like since I feel like I've been, needing to find more joy from smaller things. I feel like I've also gotten more observant. And so I'm on my walks and walking around my neighborhood, and I'm just like noticing all of these like different plants that I haven't before.
Mm.
And that brings me a lot of joy to be able to like look at all these plants. And I have one friend who I'm a little too lazy to, I'm trying to get into it, but I'm a little too lazy to go into like kind of detective mode of figuring out like, collecting new plants on my phone kind of way.
Oh,
But there is always just some random plants that really stand out to me. And I'm like, what is this? And so I'll just send a photo to her, and she's my little plant detective, and she finds out what it is, what's called, like, anything else that I would need to know. And so I'm trying to become a little plant detective for myself, but that's always a nice way to also bond with my friend, to like connect and everything. I think we both enjoy it a lot. Yeah.
get plants in people's front yards and stuff and gardens.
Yeah, or just like I've honestly been noticing so many like little paths that I didn't know existed before in my neighborhood, so that's really nice. Yeah. And then always food is always so therapeutic to like make food and to spend that time. Like I love slicing vegetables. I love just like taking the time to do that. Yeah.
I love cooking so much.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely very nourishing for like the body, but also just like the mind and everything. And it's just,
It's so therapeutic. Like,
yeah.
like you put on like Netflix or whatever like, you're listening to, and just like get in the zone of cooking. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a really
Yeah.
good answer.
Thank you. Yeah. All right then. Well, if you don't have any other thoughts, I think I'll stop recording here.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. This was wonderful.
Oh, I had the best time.
Amazing. Okay, I'll stop recording here.